recording. And I will share my screen here. So very excited that, of course, you've all heard that we're going to be returning to school. And there's a few items that I would like to address as we come back. And again, it's a lot of information. So what I want to do is I want to make sure that I give you a quick snapshot of what's going to look like, whether you have selected in person or whether you've selected learning, what that will look like, and really present what the remainder of the year should be like for your child. So the agenda is I'll go over a little bit of the guidance for the reopening of schools. We'll touch a little bit on the timeline for the remainder of the year. We'll talk about a little bit about what the hybrid model looks like. We'll talk about safety, what are some of the mitigation strategies and screening processes that we're going to be employing, not only here in Mount Vernon, but throughout the district. And we'll talk a little bit about what the flow is going to look like, including the drop-off and the pickup, the extended day program, and then what are some things to look forward for in the future. Esta es nuestra agenda. Lo que vamos a hablar de hoy, y les voy a dar una presentación que va a cubrir estos temas, que vamos a ver cuáles son las estrategias o lo que nos están guiando el Estado de cómo abrir. Les vamos a dar un itinerario de las fechas en los días en que vamos a abrir y cómo va a estar de la agenda a través del año. También vamos a hablar sobre el modelo híbrido y también vamos a ver cuáles son las medidas de seguridad que estamos tomando aquí en la escuela. Y también vamos a ver varias cosas como cómo va a estar el tráfico, cómo se va a ver cuando llegan para dejar a sus niños y también en la tarde cuando van a ir a recogerlos. Y también sobre el programa después de escuela. Y también tomaremos preguntas. Si gusta ponerlos en el chat de una vez, pueden hacerlo. O si se quieren esperar hasta el último, también lo podemos hacer. So our number one goal really is a safe, welcoming, and engaging experience for our scholars. And really, as we return to school, in addition to that, we want to make sure that we provide in-person instruction to every family that wants that experience and for the remainder of the school year. And so we also, at the same time, want to make sure that we implement the COVID-19 mitigation strategies to ensure everyone is safe. Nuestra meta va a ser asegurar que nuestros alumnos estén seguros aquí en la escuela y que sea un ambiente positivo y productivo para los niños. Queremos asegurar que también todos los alumnos y niños que quieran estar aquí en persona, proveerles esa experiencia y a la misma vez asegurar que tengamos un ambiente seguro aquí en la escuela. So here's a quick timeline for our return. Right now, or at the beginning of March, a survey was sent out to parents asking if you wanted to remain in distance learning or if you wanted to choose for your child to come back to in-person learning. That survey closed on March 14th. And then we've been working on those schedules. So I'll give you a little bit more information on that in a little bit. And then this week, teachers were back on site and preparing for the return to school. Next week, and the next 2 weeks will be spring break. And then when we come back from spring break on April 12th, we will have preschool, kinder, first and second grades return on April 12th. And then on April 19th, it would be third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and eighth grade will return to in-person learning. And that schedule will remain that way until the last day of school, which is June 16th. I did include one date in here, which I will talk a little bit about later. We will be offering COVID testing here at Mount Vernon and actually all the schools. April 8th is the date before they return back from spring break. So that will be available for parents to come by and have their kids tested for COVID if you choose to do so. We highly recommend it. And then after that, every 2 weeks, students and staff will be tested on site. And I'll talk a little bit more about the COVID testing. Esta es la agenda o el itinerario que vamos a seguir por el resto del año. Al principio de marzo tuvimos una encuesta que se le mandó a los padres y esta encuesta estaba preguntándole a los padres si ellos querían escoger regresar sus alumnos aquí a la escuela o si quieren que sus hijos se mantengan en el aprendizaje a distancia. Entonces, esa encuesta se terminó o se acabó el 14 de marzo y lo que nosotros hicimos, ahorita estamos trabajando en en las listas de de los maestros y vamos a mandarles a ustedes cartas en unos días informándoles qué opción tienen y lo más probable la opción que eligieron es lo que van a tener. También, pues esta semana las maestras están preparándose para el regreso al inicio de la escuela, que viene siendo el 12 de marzo, porque las próximas 2 semanas van a estar de vacaciones todos en Spring Break y el 12 de abril van a regresar el preescolar, el kinder, primero y segundo grado en persona y luego la próxima semana que viene siendo el 19 de abril regresarían los alumnos de tercero, cuarto, quinto, sexto y octavo. Y también mencioné que el 8 de abril, que es unos días antes de que regresemos a escuela, vamos a estar proveyendo aquí los exámenes de COVID para los alumnos. Y es opcional. Recomendamos que todos se hagan el examen, es completamente gratuito. Y cada 2 semanas van a estar viniendo para dar los exámenes de COVID a los niños. Voy a dar más información sobre los exámenes, pero es completamente opcional, pero sí lo recomendamos, que todos los alumnos y el personal hagan el examen de COVID cada 2 semanas. So just as I mentioned a little while ago, the hybrid family survey went out on the 5th and it closed on the 14th. And we really just wanted to make sure that we gave parents a choice in deciding which method of instruction they preferred. And it was either in-person, hybrid, or remain in distance learning. And we are creating those groups for the student groups based on several metrics here, but I will talk a little bit more about that in a minute. Entonces quería mencionarles que, como les había mencionado anteriormente, era que la encuesta que salió les dio la opción a los padres que escogieran si querían regresar a escuela en persona o mantenerse en aprendizaje a distancia. Si no llenaron la encuesta, se asumió que van a regresar en persona. And one thing that I didn't say in English was that if you did not fill out the survey, it was assumed that you would be returning or your son or daughter would be returning to in-person learning. And let me just skip that. These are the survey results that we got. We have 55 students that opted for distance learning, and we have 337 that opted for in-person hybrid learning. Estos son los resultados de la encuesta. Tenemos 55 alumnos que los padres quisieron que se quedaran en el aprendizaje de distancia y tenemos 337 alumnos que escogieron estar aquí en el programa híbrido en persona. So one of the things that I'm very excited to announce is that our dual immersion hybrid program is a 4-day model. And this is a little different than what the other schools had. The other schools had the 2-day hybrid model. The dual immersion model is a 4-day model. So that means if you chose hybrid, our students will be coming to school 4 days a week. So I'll repeat that again. If you chose the hybrid model, your son or daughter would be coming to school 4 full days a week. That would be 8 to 2:20 p.m., Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. If they remained in distance learning, or if you chose for them to remain in distance learning, they will continue to have a very similar schedule throughout, and they will have a live instruction throughout the day, every day. And so just making sure, again, if you chose distance learning, the schedule will remain virtually the same. They may have a different teacher, but the schedule will remain the same. Algo que estoy muy emocionado para noticias que les quiero dar es que los alumnos que están en kinder a sexto grado participarán en el programa de 4 días a la semana que vendrían a la escuela aquí en persona. De nuevo, si escogieron la versión o la opción de hybrid, los alumnos vendrían 4 días a la semana a la escuela. Sería lunes, martes, jueves y viernes de 8 de la mañana hasta las 2:20 de la tarde. Entonces, de nuevo, si tienen la opción de híbrido, van a estar aquí 4 días a la semana y el miércoles sería aprendizaje a distancia. Si escogieron la opción de distancia, aprendizaje a distancia, los 5 días serán a distancia. Also, the 8th grade hybrid model is slightly different. 8th grade will have a group A and a group B. Group A will be on Monday, Tuesday in person, and then the next 3 days they'll be distance learning. Group B will be 3 days, the first 3 days will be distance learning, and then the next 2 days will be in person. Again, these will be full day models. So group A and group B, when they're here, they will be full day from our regular bell schedule is 8:15 to 2:53. Entonces, el programa de octavo grado de secundaria es poquito diferente. Ellos tienen los alumnos de octavo que escogieron el programa híbrido, vendrían 2 días a la semana. Depende del grupo que estén, si es el A o el B. Por ejemplo, el grupo A vendría el lunes y el martes y luego miércoles, jueves y viernes estarían en casa, más o menos como están ahorita, a través de con la maestra a distancia. El grupo B vendría el jueves y el viernes y los primeros 3 días estarían en aprendizaje a distancia con sus maestras. So some of the COVID-19 mitigation strategies that I want to go over is...
Could I interrupt you? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
There is one question. If families if they did not fill out the survey, but they prefer to do the distance learning, how do we get their responses in?
Okay, very, very good question, because if you didn't fill out the survey, we assumed that you were going hybrid. If you do not feel comfortable coming back to the school, please call the office. I need you to call the office right away tomorrow morning and let Ms. Lelia know so that we can opt you over to distance learning. Now, taking that in consideration, going the other way, I'll explain that as well, but let me just translate that in Spanish. La pregunta que se hizo es que, como yo había hecho el comentario, que si no llenaron la encuesta, automáticamente los íbamos a enlistar en el programa híbrido en persona. Y la pregunta que se hizo, ¿qué tal si no llenamos la encuesta, pero no me siento seguro en llevar mi hijo o hija a la escuela? Mi respuesta sería lo más pronto posible, mañana en la mañana, por favor, hablen y avísenle a la secretaria Ms. Lelia que prefieren el programa de distancia porque necesitamos cambiarlos, o sea, inmediatamente. Ahorita, el programa de distancia, sí tenemos un poquito de espacio, entonces puedo yo mover al programa de distancia. En un momento hablo sobre el espacio que tenemos en el programa de híbrido. So some of the COVID-19 mitigation strategies that we have, one of the things that I really want to mention is over the last 6 months, we've visited as a team, not only as the cabinet members, but the principals and some teachers as well. We have visited other schools that have been open since August, other schools that open in the winter, and really got guidance not only from the schools, but got guidance from the county, and just really about what are the best practices. And we feel very, very confident that if we follow these mitigation strategies, being in school is a very safe environment. And so much safe that really, if you look at the research across the country of the schools that have opened up, there really is little to no transmitted cases in schools. That's because if the research really shows that if you follow these sound strategies, you really can avoid the transmission. Entonces, lo que mencioné es que ahorita cuando hable sobre las diferentes estrategias que vamos a implementar para asegurar que los niños estén seguros, nosotros a través de los últimos 6 meses estuvimos visitando escuelas que ya abrieron como desde agosto, también con la guía del condado y el estado, y hablando con diferentes maestros y directores y la mesa directiva, hemos visto y estamos seguros de que podemos abrir en una manera que está muy segura. A través de todo el país, se ha visto que si se siguen estas estrategias, realmente no hay casos o muy pocos casos en que se transmiten de COVID de niño a niño. Y es muy, muy raro que se transmitan casos. Y estamos muy, muy seguros en que vamos a seguir estas estrategias y que los niños van a estar seguros aquí en la escuela. So this is a quick snapshot of some of the things that we are doing that we know are proven to work. First and foremost, I'll start on this side, mask wearing. And so masks are required for all students unless they have a medical condition. So if you have a medical condition, that needs to be submitted to the school, and then our nurse and myself will contact you to schedule a meeting so that we can schedule accommodations. But other than that, all students, all staff are required to wear masks at all times, with the exception of when they're eating. The second thing that we're doing is cleaning. We're cleaning not only classrooms, we're deep cleaning. We're also doing, we've hired an additional staff to clean and sanitize throughout the day. The other big thing we're doing is social distancing and really ensuring that even though the guidance says 4 to 6 feet, we are going to 6 feet. So all kids will be distanced 6 feet. And then one of the big things we're doing as well is we're actively screening not only staff and students that come in, and then every 2 weeks we are testing students and staff on site for COVID. Estas son parte de las estrategias que estamos haciendo. Voy a empezar de este lado porque sabemos que usando las máscaras o las mascarillas es efectivo. Entonces todos los niños, todos los alumnos y las maestras y el personal necesitan usar mascarillas. Si la única excepción sería si tienen una condición médica, necesitan entregar una nota del doctor indicando la condición médica y la razón por cual no necesita usar la mascarilla. Y luego nuestra enfermera y yo los vamos a contactar y tendríamos una junta para determinar qué tipo de acomodaciones o modificaciones le haríamos. Lo otro que estamos haciendo, estamos limpiando constantemente. Los salones están desinfectados diario. También el miércoles y los sábados es una limpia más profunda. Y también hemos contratado a personal adicional para limpiar a través del día. Lo otro que estamos haciendo es que los niños estén distanciados en el salón. Ahorita las medidas dicen que de 4 a 6 pies es aceptable. Nosotros estamos a 6 pies. Y ahorita les voy a enseñar una foto de los salones de cómo se van a ver. Y lo otro que estamos haciendo es todos los días estamos revisando los alumnos, tomando las temperaturas, y aparte cada 2 semanas estamos administrando los exámenes de COVID para los papás, los alumnos que elijan tomarse el examen de COVID, lo podrán hacer aquí en la escuela.
Mr. Chavez, there's been a few questions in the chat about masks. Are we going to receive guidelines on what are acceptable masks to bring to school?
So the masks, the guidance on the mask, I can give you a little bit more specifics on it, but the cloth covered masks are sufficient. If you don't have a mask or you're unsure, we can provide you with a mask with your son or daughter when they come here to school. But even the cloth covered, you don't need a KN95, you don't need a specific one. As long as it's covering the nose all the way down, the proper use is more important than the material. Again, but if you're not sure or you don't have it, we will provide it for you here at the entrance.
Mr. Chávez, había una pregunta en español de la señora Elizabeth. Creo que quiere saber más información sobre qué es el grupo A y B. No sé si es de middle school.
Sí, nada más es de la secundaria
Ujú.
de octavo. El grupo A o B se refiere a, porque la secundaria no todos los alumnos van a regresar el mismo día. Entonces el grupo A y el B solo es para octavo grado, porque octavo grado van a estar, el grupo A va a estar en persona lunes y martes y el grupo B va a estar en persona jueves y viernes. Entonces es una manera que podemos asegurar en la secundaria que haya lo suficiente espacio para los alumnos de octavo.
Mr. Chavez,
Mhm.
quick question. The bi-weekly testing, is that required or is that optional?
It is optional.
Oh, okay.
And it is optional. Parents will receive a letter of consent or to opt into the testing. So kind of like a permission saying, I give consent for you to test my child at school. It is not, I've been asked, is it the one that goes in the nose? No, it's the non-invasive one. So it's a saliva.
Okay.
So it is 100% your option. We are hoping that everybody tests because the more we test, the more accurate and precise we can determine on being effective on being able to control a lot of these factors. So
I have another quick question now that with the mask wearing, I know you said it's when they're eating lunch or eating, that's not going to be required, but is the 6 feet still going to be?
They're distant. So even though we're outdoors, we're still following the guidance on distancing when they're outdoors. So they will be spaced out. And so the way the benches are set up, those rectangular benches are really big benches, but we're only allowing 3 kids on those benches and they're marked on the spots on where they can sit. And then when the next group, there's time between the groups so that we can sanitize those benches before the next group comes too.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Mr. Chavez, there was one more question about 8th grade, why it's only a 2-day instead of a 4-day. You want to address that?
Why is several reasons, spacing and the need for being able to teach the kids that chose distance learning. We only have 2 middle school teachers. So if I were to pull one of the middle school teachers to teach the distance learning kids, then I'm left with 1 teacher. So our 2 teachers that are doing in-person learning, they're also doing the distance learning. So they really can't do a full day instruction and then do another full, like when are they going to do the distance learning? So in order for us to pull it off, we needed to do this schedule so that the teacher, they're splitting their shift. Basically, one of the teachers is teaching the in-person and then they switch and then they do the distance learning. So in other words, in order for us to do both models, since we only have 2 teachers, we needed to do a split day model this way. Okay, voy a seguir aquí. Let's see. Okay, educator vaccinations. Teachers and staff were all given the option to vaccinate. Again, we can't force anyone to get vaccinated, but I would say a really good amount of our teachers and staff went and got the vaccine. We went through different areas like Viva, and we had also, I think it was Alvarado Hospital that also helped us out. So our goal was to have anyone that, basically all our teachers and staff had the option to vaccinate and have both vaccinations before school started back in, before April 12th, all educators would have had the option to have both vaccinations. So I just got mine on Monday. So I got my second shot on Monday. So no symptoms. And so I'm good to go. Las vacunas, los maestros y el personal se les dio la opción de, ya tuvieron la oportunidad de ir a vacunarse. la mayoría escogieron ir a vacunarse, fueron hace un par de semanas y les va a tocar la segunda vacuna antes de empezar el inicio de escuela. So I want to show a little bit about the classroom setup. This is over the last couple months, we've had a couple cohorts of kids in here and that were logging in remotely, but this is how our classrooms are set up. We have plexiglasses. These kids, you can see, are 6 feet apart from in all directions. And there's plexiglasses. Even though we have the ionization filters running, we still have the windows and the door open to ensure that we have ventilation in there. So again, you can see that since we have kids spaced out, there is limited space on how many students we can fit in a classroom. Este es un ejemplo de cómo se van a ver los salones. Hemos tenido algunos, nomás 2 grupos de alumnos aquí en escuela, muy pocos alumnos aquí que estuvieron aquí los últimos 2 meses y así es como se miraban los salones. Tenemos distancia de 6 pies en todas direcciones. Los alumnos tienen las barreras enfrente. Todos los alumnos tienen las mascarillas puestas y aseguramos que aunque están los filtros los de aire acondicionado están constantemente prendidos, pero también tenemos las ventanas abiertas, las puertas abiertas para asegurar que haya un flujo de aire. And this is a sample of what every kid gets in the classroom. They get their own supplies. So kids are not sharing supplies. They get their own plastic bin that has their own whiteboard, their pencils, their markers, everything that they need so that they're not sharing or transferring materials from kid to kid. They have their own kit that they take with them and it actually remains in the classroom. Este es un ejemplo de los materiales que los alumnos van a tener una cajita así de plástico donde van a poder poner todos sus materiales porque queremos asegurar que los alumnos no estén cambiando lápices o no estén intercambiando materiales. Cada alumno va a tener su set completo de materiales. So I talked a little bit earlier about the cleaning, just a little bit more specific. If you're wondering what we're doing, every evening we have an evening custodian that uses the Clorox 360 machine that goes through and sprays everything in the room. In addition to that, we do a deep clean Wednesdays and Saturdays. Students will be required to use a hand sanitizer when they enter the campus and then when they enter and exit each classroom. And then, like I just showed you earlier, every child will have their individual learning materials kit so that kids do not transfer materials within each other. So they'll have their own boxes. And then the common areas are wiped down or cleaned. So for example, the lunch area, between one group to the next, it will be cleaned. And then same thing with bathrooms, it will be cleaned throughout the day. And so additional personnel has been hired to be able to assist with the cleaning throughout the day. Entonces, poquito más en detalle sobre la limpieza. Cada día en la tarde se va a utilizar una máquina que se llama Clorox 360, que es una máquina que es prácticamente es como un spray que le da a todo lo que está en ese cuarto y desinfecta todo lo que está allí en el ambiente. Aparte de eso, cada miércoles y sábado se le va a hacer una limpieza más profunda. Los alumnos se les requerirá que cuando entren a la escuela estén sanitizando o usando el antibacterial en las manos al entrar y a salir de cada vez que transicionan por ejemplo, si salen a comer o salen de la clase o entran a la clase, tienen que limpiarse las manos. También, como les había mencionado, los alumnos no van a transferir materiales, van a tener su propio kit cada alumno. Y las áreas que hay en común, como el área de comer, el área de jugar, diferentes áreas, y en los baños también están limpiados a través del día. This is something big because we know that COVID, studies that have been made is that the majority of cases are transmitted through airborne pathogens or through air droplets. So the air ventilation system is a big component that the district has invested in the ionization systems for every single classroom. And from my understanding, every 30 to 60 minutes, the air in that room is completely filtered out. And so that removes any of the pathogens that are in the air, including COVID. So but in addition to that, like I said, we are going to have the windows open, doors open, spacing, and we are using outdoor spaces when possible. So there are times when, for example, a special ed teacher might pull a student and it might be in an outdoor space. And so we do use outdoor spaces. We're gearing up to be very creative to use indoor and outdoor spaces as necessary. Hemos visto que muchos de los estudios han indicado que la mayoría de los casos transmitidos de COVID es a través del aire y la bacteria que está en el aire. Entonces, un componente que el distrito pagó para instalar filtros en el sistema de aire acondicionado para poder filtrar el aire, y cada media hora a hora el aire en ese cuarto está completamente filtrado. Y aparte de eso, también estamos abriendo ventanas, abriendo la puerta para también asegurar que hay constantemente aire circulando en los salones. También estamos utilizando espacios afuera. Por ejemplo, hay casos como servicios de educación especial que se pueden hacer afuera en vez de hacer adentro del salón. Entonces, hay diferentes métodos que estamos viendo y estamos utilizando espacios adentro y afuera. So the screening process, I want to talk about, we are asking, there's 3 parts to our screening process. And what I mean by screening is when kids come to school, we need to ensure that when kids come, that kids don't have any symptoms or do not present, that they're not presenting symptoms, COVID symptoms. And so this is the 3-part screening process that we're using. First is a passive screening, meaning before kids come to school, we're asking families to screen the kids before they leave school. So what does that mean? It means take their temperature and pay close attention to them. Do they have any of these symptoms? Have they been coughing? Do they feel hot? Has your son or daughter said they have a headache? Are they feeling tired, or they say their body aches? Are they short of breath? Do they have a sore throat? Have they vomited? Do they have a runny nose? Are they congested? Or do they say that they can't smell, or they lost their sense of taste or smell? These are all symptoms, COVID symptoms, that I'm sure that you're aware of, but we're asking parents to do a passive screening. In other words, to check for these symptoms at home. The second thing we're doing a visual screening when kids come to campus. So we have people that are going to be in the drop-off area, and we're going to have people throughout the inside. So when you drop off your kids, we are going to also do a visual screening. But then at the door, there's an active screening. So the teachers will be at the doors, and then they are going to take the student temperatures before the students come in. And then they will also ask the students if they have any of those symptoms as they come in. And throughout the days, yes.
Perdón, hay una pregunta en el chat. La señora, Elizabeth dice, mi hija se acaba de hacer la prueba de COVID en febrero. ¿Se la tiene que hacer otra vez?
Recomendamos que sí. Por ejemplo, la razón por cual hacemos cada 2 semanas es porque ¿qué tal si hoy o mañana está en contacto con alguien que tiene COVID y tal vez la persona es asintomático y no sabemos que la persona tiene COVID? Y muchos de los casos que se transmiten son casos asintomáticos antes de que las personas tienen síntomas. Entonces, es muy, muy importante hacerles el examen seguido, porque no sabemos en algún punto que si han estado expuestos con alguien que está asintomático y tal vez lo pueden tener. Entonces, es importante cada 2 semanas hacerlo. So the question that was asked is that, my daughter had the COVID test done, I think in February or, last month. Is it necessary to do it again? Absolutely. And the reason why we want to test every 2 weeks is because it's also been known that there's a lot of transmitted cases when people are asymptomatic. So basically they're not presenting symptoms for the first 5 to 7 days. So during that time, they're still though spreading. They're spreading the COVID while they're asymptomatic. So we want to make sure, just to ensure everyone's safety, in addition to all the protocols, the safety protocols, one added measure is testing every 2 weeks. And again, it's not mandatory, but highly, highly recommended. Again, it's non-invasive, it's a saliva test. Algo que les estaba explicando en inglés era la manera en que vamos a revisar a los alumnos cuando llegan a la escuela. Vamos a tener mucho cuidado en que los alumnos, cuando entren a la escuela, los vamos a revisar, que no tengan síntomas. Pero estamos pidiendo que los padres en casa también hagan lo mismo. Entonces, si ustedes ven que en casa tienen alguno de estos síntomas, si tienen tos o fiebre o dolor de cabeza o se sienten cansados o con dolores musculares, o si tienen dificultad respirando o dolor de garganta, si están vomitando, si están congestionados o si pierden el gusto o el olfato, esos todos son síntomas del COVID. Entonces, si tienen algún síntoma, estamos pidiendo primero que ustedes se fijen en casa. Si ustedes notan cualquiera de esos síntomas, por favor, manténganlos en casa y informen a la escuela. Y lo segundo es, si están bien, pues mándenlos a la escuela. Lo que nosotros vamos a hacer, también nosotros estamos visualmente monitoreando a los niños cuando los dejen aquí en el estacionamiento y luego cuando entren a la escuela van a tener que ir directamente al salón. Allí las maestras van a estar en la puerta con un termómetro revisando a los alumnos y también les van a hacer las preguntas de los síntomas, si tienen algún síntoma. A través del día también van a estar monitoreando a los niños a través del día para ver si tienen tos o tienen algún síntoma. Si presentan un síntoma o tienen una fiebre, vamos a tener un área donde pueden estar los niños esperando mientras ustedes regresen por ellos.
Perdón, hay otra pregunta
Claro
en
que
español. Dice, ¿qué pasaría si tuvieran los niños gripe o dolor de cabeza y no asisten a clases en persona? Se quedarían en casa. Entonces, ¿los marcarían como ausentes? ¿Eso les perjudicaría para el final de semestre?
Podemos nosotros, si tienen que estar en casa, lo que nosotros haríamos es el contrato independiente. O sea que los niños que están fuera porque presentan síntomas, podemos nosotros hacerle el contrato independiente y ellos, los niños les asignamos trabajo que hagan en casa y cuenta como que están en clase. So if a student does have symptoms and we do have to quarantine for a certain amount of time, I believe it's 10 days, we will put your child what's called an independent contract so that your child can still complete work at home and still be counted as being here at school. So visitors to campus, and this is something that is very, very important so that we can ensure safety. The only visitors allowed on site are those with the lemongrovesd.net email address, meaning employees, any law enforcement or social workers, or those with a contract or agreement with the Lemon Grove School District. Visitors not only need to sign in, but we're also doing the active screening to any visitors. And we also have to track what areas they've been to, and we actually are keeping a log on that. So it's very, very limited as far as who can enter the campus. So estamos limitando los visitantes a la escuela por medidas de seguridad y los únicos que van a poder entrar a la escuela son empleados o personas que tienen ya el email. También como policías o trabajadores sociales o personas que tienen un contrato para trabajar aquí. Y a veces de vez en cuando tenemos contratistas que vienen, hacen construcción o están trabajando en diferentes áreas arreglando. Esas son las únicas personas que van a estar admitidas en la escuela. Aún así, tienen que también presentar, vamos a tomar la temperatura, vamos a hacerles activamente el revisar que no tengan síntomas. Y también se les va a apuntar exactamente en qué áreas han estado en la escuela.
I have a question about drop-off. Okay, I have a question about the drop-offs, if that's okay.
Yeah, if you can hold it on, it's actually coming up in like 2 more slides.
Okay, perfect.
You want to hold on for a second?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. So school hours, school gates for elementary will open up at 7:45. And again, we want to stick to the 7:45 time slot because at 7:45, that's when the teachers will be at the doors. And so we will open the gates, kids will be directed directly to their classroom while they will be screened there. So the school day is from 8 to 2:20 and middle school is 8:15 to 2:53. What should kids bring to school? Bring a clean mask. Again, if you don't have a mask, we will provide you one. A water bottle, reusable ones are good. And then also bring your school issued Chromebook and the charger, please. El horario para la escuela es de 8 a 2:20. Nosotros vamos a abrir las puertas a las 7:45 porque las maestras van a estar en las puertas de los salones a las 7:45 tomando temperaturas. Entonces es importante si pueden llegar a las 7:45 mejor para poder estar tomando las temperaturas y haciendo las medidas que necesitamos hacer antes de escuela. La primaria es de 8 a 2:20, la secundaria es de 8:15 a 2:53. Estamos pidiendo que los niños o los alumnos traigan su mascarilla. Si no tienen, les vamos a proveer una. También que traigan una botella de agua. Si quieren traer una reusable, está bien. Pueden llenar la botella aquí. Y también que traigan su Chromebook y el cargador. The entrance and egress, so ingress, egress, and I might ask Mr. Wazalewski to kind of help me out here. He's the one that developed this and with the team. So I will go over a little bit. There's 2 slides that I want to talk about here. The ingress, the drop-off is, and the pickup is a little different than what we're accustomed to. And the reason why we want to do it a little bit differently is we want to have various stations because we need to be screening throughout and direct kids in. And so we do have multiple points there. So I will talk about that. Okay. And voy a hablar sobre cómo es la estructura que vamos a implementar para cuando dejen a los alumnos aquí o cuando pasen por ellos. Lo que vamos a hacer es, normalmente se hace una fila aquí con kinder y primer grado. Entonces vamos a hacer algo un poquito diferente para kinder y primer grado, pero las áreas donde ellos entran o salen, el kinder y primer grado, kinder va a estar en esta área, primer grado aquí, segundo grado casi enfrente donde está el letrero, ese letrero electrónico, tercero y cuarto van a estar en esta área, quinto, sexto y octavo aquí. Esto sería para este año, pues ocupamos varias estaciones. También para que sepan, el próximo año ya no vamos a tener octavo grado, entonces esta de octavo se va a eliminar, pero el próximo año no vamos a tener octavo. So the pickup and drop off is going to be a little bit different. We're going to have areas here. Kinder is going to be in this area, first grade here, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and eighth. Now, kinder is going to be a little different because there's usually a bottleneck that happens here right off the bat, right here in kinder. When they drop off, it's only maybe about 2-3 cars that fit here, and then all of a sudden there's traffic. So what we're going to do for kinder and first parents, we're going to have signs all over here. And kinder and first parents, rather than turning in here, we're going to be asked to go straight all the way through and then do a U-turn and come back. Why we do that is because the kinder line is going to go out a little bit here, but everyone else is going to turn in here. And when they turn in, I will talk to you about what that looks like here. So when you turn in, There will be the kinder first drop-off will be that first lane. Again, there will be signs designated there. If you're not kinder or first, or you would take this first lane for kinder or first. And if you're second grade, you will take the middle lane and then drop off over here. If you're third and fourth, you take the middle lane and you drop off over here. There will be people here that will, and a stop sign where we cross the street one kid at a time. And if you're fifth, sixth, or eighth, you take the middle lane and you go around and then you drop off in this area. So we will have people in this area, this area, this area, and this area. So we have staff spread all around, but the big key difference is the center lane is a passing lane. So again, the key difference to what we're doing right now is the center lane is a passing lane. And then these is pick up drop off for kinder first, second. And then we have, third and fourth is going to be dropped off over here. But again, there's going to be people here that are going to help cross the street with kids, and there'll be a stop sign there. You'll see when you get here, we will have plenty of signs and they will be color coded. We'll have red, there'll be blue, orange, yellow, and then we will have this designated. I ask that you please be patient as people learn this process, because usually the first week might be a little bit, there's a learning curve. But we feel that having this system, multiple drop-off points, and having a method for them for the passing lane for traffic, we will be able to get a flow of kids in and out in a faster method.
I have a question about that. I have a kindergartner and a fourth grader. So if I'm going to kinder first, to get into the other lane, it's going to start the beeping and you're cutting me. Do I have to go all the way back around, or what's the?
No, you would drop off here, take the center lane, and come over here.
But you already said there's going to be another line.
Mm-hmm. So there'll also be people with stop signs here too. So when you drop off kinder here, and then you come over here and you drop off fourth.
Oh, okay, so it's not like I'm going to trying to go through or anything.
No, this is a passing lane. It'll be moving. So you'll
okay.
Okay. So it's what I'm asking is, as we encounter the first couple of days, we're actually on the first day, the first week, we're only doing K first and second. And so you'll see a little bit of the layout of how it goes. Like anything else, when we try something new, when we make adjustments because we feel that this is going to be the best method. We need to have multiple entry points where the kids can go in through and be directed to where they need to go. And we felt that this was the best method that we could think of right now that ensures that kids are spread out. We have enough staff that's going to be available to direct them there. So if we make any adjustments, we'll let you know. But I mean, little adjustments here and there we may make, but overall we'll have signs up and we'll keep to the fidelity of this flow.
Awesome, thank you.
Quería, and so I think I need to translate it because I haven't talked about it in Spanish. Les había explicado un poquito sobre cómo el tráfico va a estar. Expliqué un poquito esta gráfica que cuando entren va a haber 3 carriles. El primer carril que está cerca de este lado va a ser para kinder, primero y segundo grado. El carril del medio es un carril que es cuando ya es como para pasar. Entonces, por ejemplo, si ya dejan a su hijo o hija en segundo grado, usan el carril del medio para salir. Entonces vamos a intentar que este carril del medio esté constantemente moviéndose. Y para dejar a tercero y cuarto, dejarían de este lado, pero va a haber personal aquí que va a ayudar a cruzar la calle a los niños. Y luego para quinto, sexto y octavo tendrían que seguir el carril del medio, dar la vuelta y dejar a los niños acá en esta área. So structured breaks and lunch, I want to talk a little bit about what the breaks will look like. And this is a picture we took here of when the students were in one of our in-person cohorts. We will work with staff to have structured activities during their break times. And there will be designated areas where different groups will be at. So this is an example. And the kinder will have this area over here. And let me translate that. Para los tiempos de recreo se van a ver un poco diferentes. Tenemos que tener actividades estructuradas para asegurar que los alumnos estén distanciados. Y este es como un ejemplo que tuvimos aquí. Tomamos una foto aquí hace unas semanas aquí. Aquí están un mapa, un diagrama de las áreas, de cómo vamos a seccionar las áreas. Van a haber cadenas aquí y van a haber diferentes áreas donde los niños no van a poder mezclar, pero van a tener áreas designadas para sus tiempos de recreo estructurados. Y este es el área donde kinder y primer grado van a estar en diferentes tiempos. Special education will continue during hybrid. Since we are running the 4-day model where kids will be here in person 4 days, we will do our best. Most likely all services will be provided in person. There might be some minor exceptions to that. However, we know that IEP meetings will continue to be held virtually for now. So again, if you have an upcoming IEP meeting, it will be via Zoom. Entonces, los servicios de educación especial, la mayoría van a ser en persona. Entonces, los alumnos que están en el programa híbrido van a tener sus servicios de educación especial aquí en persona. Lo único que va a cambiar en ese aspecto, vamos a seguir con las juntas de los IEPs en Zoom. If you're in the virtual academy, the students will continue as is. Their services will continue to be online. And el programa, or the extended day program, a couple things I want to mention. The EDP is basically, extended day program is free for students TK through 8th grade. There was, if you filled out the survey, when you filled out the hybrid survey model, if you put on there that you are interested in EDP, there's a window open between March 26th and March 31st. That's coming up in a couple days. EDP will send a notification email to the families saying, you know what, the application window is open, fill out your application. There is a selection process. So they will, usually EDP will get more applications than spots that they have, because the EDP has a limit of 14 students per group, again, because of spacing and distancing and just requirements, 14 students per group. So they have a cap of the number of students that they can admit. They are going to select, they have a selection process where they select students that are homeless or fostered first, then free or reduced lunch, then critical infrastructure, parents that are critical infrastructure, and then students that attend the full program hours. So they follow that specific priority list. And then students that attend EDP are going to be regrouped into small groups or cohorts of 14. The program is going to be open until 6 o'clock, and it'll be and their parents are being asked to pick up their child between 5:15 to 6 p.m. in a drive-through format, very similar to what we have for during the day. If you have any questions, we have Gwen's email here and also Christine's email here. Feel free to reach out to them regarding either the application window or any questions you might have.
Mr. Chavez? Oh, sorry. There's a question about breakfast. Can you explain to them how breakfast is going to work?
Absolutely. If I just translate this real quick, and then I'll talk about breakfast in a second.
Thank you.
El programa de después de escuela va a continuar este año, va a ser 4 días a la semana y es gratuito de kinder o de TK hasta 8º grado. Cuando llenaron la encuesta que indicaba si querían híbrido o aprendizaje a distancia, allí había una pregunta si estaban interesados en el programa después de escuela. Si indicaron que sí, se les va a mandar una aplicación más o menos el 26 de marzo, porque hay la ventana para poder meter la aplicación es del 26 al 31. Si son seleccionados, van a recibir un correo el 6 de abril. Si tienen preguntas, pueden contactar a Gwen o Christine a través de email y ellos se pueden ubicar con más información. Pero ellos tienen un criterio para seleccionar alumnos basados en si son alumnos que son homeless o si están en el sistema foster o si reciben...
Thank you,
la
Sinai, for breaking my
oportunidad.
thing. All the cords and everything, you just threw your bag on top of it.
Y también pues tienen un criterio de los diferentes de los alumnos que van a aceptar primero son los niños que están aquí en esta lista. Igual si tienen preguntas pueden comunicarse con las dos personas que están aquí están sus correos, pero el programa es hasta las 6 de la tarde y están pidiendo que los padres vengan por los alumnos de 5:15 a 6 p.m. a 6 de la tarde. So there was a question, I'm sorry, about breakfast. Okay, so
1 second, Mr. Chavez.
Mhm.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
I was listening to your Spanish and I heard something in the beginning about the grade levels for the program. Was that correct? What
It's,
grade levels did you
it says,
say?
It says TK to 8th grade.
Okay.
Well, we don't have
do
TK,
not.
so it's just kinder to
No,
8th.
we don't. Okay. So kinder through 8. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Thank you.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Thank
I
you.
took this slide from EDP. So, I mean, I guess at other schools that they do have TK, they are offering it. But for us, it's just K to 8.
Correct. Thank you.
Mhm.
Mr. Chavez, there is a question in Spanish. I don't know. Do you
How
want to
about
address it now?
How about I take the one about the breakfast and then I take
Okay.
the next one.
Perfect.
So that really is the end. So at this time, what I'll do is I'll take questions, and what we'll do is, take some time to, delve into whatever questions that you might have. Entonces, esa es la final de la presentación. Entonces voy a tomar tiempo de contestar preguntas. Si quieren ponerlos en el chat o si gustan hacerme la pregunta directamente, está bien. Tengo ahorita una pregunta que voy a contestar que hicieron anteriormente. So the question I'm going to answer is, I believe it's breakfast, right? So breakfast, we are no longer going to have breakfast in the classroom. So breakfast will be sent home. And so on the first day, what we will do is kids will get breakfast like during their structured recess time. And then they will be given breakfast for the remainder of the week to take home. But again, we're not going to have breakfast in the classroom anymore. La pregunta que se hizo era si se va a proveer desayuno en el salón. Ese programa ahorita no vamos a proveerlo en el salón, pero lo vamos a mandar a casa. El primer día sí se les va a dar desayuno, pero lo vamos a hacer durante el recreo. Y después de escuela van a llevarse el desayuno para toda la semana. Y así le vamos a seguir haciendo para que los niños puedan tener el desayuno en casa.
Hay dos preguntas en español. Voy a empezar con la última. Dice, si llené la encuesta que quería aprendizaje a distancia y he cambiado de opinión, ¿todavía hay espacio en el híbrido?
Muy buena pregunta. Y esa pregunta la voy a traducir también en inglés. Entonces, depende, porque nosotros necesitamos asegurar que los grupos no estén muy grandes, porque como vieron la foto, tengo muy limitado el espacio porque necesitan estar los escritorios 6 pies de distancia. Y eso me limita en los salones más o menos de 12 a 16 alumnos en el salón. Entonces, si el grado ya tiene la capacidad de 16, en ese salón no voy a poder admitir. Pero si hay espacio, sí. Por ejemplo, voy a enseñar la gráfica donde indica las cantidades y voy a explicar en qué grados sí hay espacio. Entonces voy a proyectar otra vez. Por ejemplo, el límite en kinder, primero y segundo grado es 45 alumnos. El límite en tercer grado, y eso es igual por distancia y por capacidad del salón. En tercer grado, cuarto hasta octavo, el límite es 48. Entonces, por ejemplo, si su hijo o hija está en cuarto, quinto, sexto, octavo, con mucho gusto. Segundo grado también tenemos espacio, pero kinder y primer grado y tercer grado ya están a capacidad. So the question that was asked is, what if I chose distance learning and I would like to go back to hybrid? And so my response is, well, the question is, if will they be admitted back to in-person if I choose that option? And my answer is, it depends. I do have a limit of the number of students that I can admit because of spacing issues. Remember that picture I showed? We have to have 6 feet distance between the kids. And if I put 20 kids in a classroom, I no longer can have that distance. So taking in consideration, I have to have 6 feet distance in all directions and still have clear passageways to be able to get in and out. The limits that we have for kinder, first, and second are 45. So for example, if you wanted to bring, if your son or daughter was in second grade, we still have a couple spots that can switch from hybrid over to, from distance learning over to hybrid. But in kinder and first, I'm full. In third through 8th grade, the capacity is 48. So if you wanted to come back to 3rd grade from distance learning to 3rd grade in person, it's full already. But if you were 4th, 5th, 6th, or 8th grade, you can opt to come back from distance learning into hybrid.
Ok, la otra pregunta que era en español se refiere a una que fue hecha antes sobre las ausencias y los niños tienen los síntomas. La señora Elisa dice, mi pregunta fue acerca de ausencia. Yo me referí si solo un día los regresan o si tienen algún síntoma, ¿ya sería razón para regresarlos a casa y en forma de cuarentena?
Si los regresamos por síntomas, necesitan estar en cuarentena. Necesito revisar la última guía porque cambia. Creo que son 10 días. Antes era 2 semanas, luego eran 10 días, pero si regresan, si los regresamos a casa, sí es una cuarentena de aproximadamente 2 semanas. Perdón, son 14 días, me están diciendo, sí. Entonces son 2 semanas. Igual, tienen COVID o no tienen COVID, la cuarentena son 2 semanas. Y la razón por cual estamos haciendo eso es para asegurar que estamos tomando las medidas, ¿no? Esa es parte de las medidas que se han visto que es efectivo. Cuando tienen síntomas, hacer cuarentena. Y también tomar las temperaturas, también estamos asegurando las distancias, las mascarillas, la limpieza, todo eso contribuye a asegurar que todos estemos seguros y no hay transmisiones en la escuela.
Mr. Chavez, there's a question about the schedules for for classes. Will classes be 1 language per day or 50-50 like before? Will children be in one classroom or switching classes?
It depends on the grade level, but I believe most grade levels are rotating within the same day. And so typically in the 50-50 model, for example, if they're getting Spanish in the morning, they'll get English in the afternoon. There is a 3rd rotation that they will have at school, which I did not mention, but there will be a 3rd rotation classroom that they will go into, where they're going to be working independently, mainly on asynchronous work. And that's how we were able to pull off the 4-day model, is being able to put in a 3rd classroom in every grade to be able to bring classroom sizes down. So there will be a rotation actually into 3 different classrooms. It would be Spanish, English, and then the 3rd rotation is an asynchronous time where they will be receiving support with either their asynchronous work or homework, but it is more of an independent structured time.
Will the teachers be rotating or the kids be rotating?
It depends. And so we have given the flexibility to the teachers that there are 3 different options that they were given depending on their comfort level. In some cases, the teachers will rotate, and in other cases, the students will rotate. And if the student rotates, there's 2 different options that are presented. There will be 2 different seats marked for like group A and group B with scenario 1. Scenario 2 is if students rotate, the teacher will be in charge of making sure that the room is wiped down before the next group comes in. So it just depends on what we wanted to do was offer flexibility and options to different grade levels, because we know kinder is very much different than 5th, 6th, and 8th grade, right? So we want to offer those different options as to how they structure it and how they feel that it will be best for the kids.
And Miss Marshall, I think that was you asking, in 3rd grade, the teachers will rotate.
Is that it?
I have one more question.
Okay. Go for it.
Okay, so just it's specific just to my situation. So my work starts at 8. So is the earliest I could drop off at 7:45, or could I drop off earlier, or no?
Yes, well, the earliest is 7:45. There isn't the before school program. I think that was offered before, but right now during the COVID times, we're not offering the before school program.
What about school buses pickup? There's no school buses, right?
The school bus program, I believe, is prioritized for students with disabilities, IEPs. So if you have the school bus, I mean, you will know about it. It will be like designated for students with IEPs.
And so she's been staying with my parents, and they're not elderly, but I don't know if they'll feel comfortable driving. I mean, I want to convince them to drop her off, but if I can't drop her off, could I change back to distance learning? Even I don't want to, but if my parents,
yes. So it's much easier to go from hybrid to distance learning than the other way around, because I have room right now in distance learning. I don't necessarily have room in person. I have spatial limitations in the in-person cohort program.
Okay. And then the 3rd rotation for kinder. So the kindergartners are going to rotate the 3 classrooms.
Yes, they will rotate in 3 classrooms. They may not do 3 rotations in one day, though.
Okay. And then the 3rd teacher, would that be like a credential teacher or an aide?
So the 3rd teacher is like a support staff, classified staff under the direction of the teachers. Okay. So they will be collaborating. The teachers it will be mainly asynchronous work. So it's assignments that the students can work on independently.
Okay. And then is it, are they going to sit there for like 2 hours, or is it something where the kindergartner could manage?
No, and I think that's a valid point, because when we did the in-person cohorts, that like the picture that I showed you, we had a couple kinder and 1st grade students in there, and it was a good way for us to see like what, how do we manage, because the kids that were there were not receiving instruction with a teacher. They were actually logging into the computer, and we were just providing a space where the kids could have a stable environment, right? It was for our kids that were the most vulnerable kids that maybe didn't have a stable space at home, right? So we learned a lot, and so we did offer the structured breaks throughout, giving them snacks, and then being able to offer that support that they need helps a lot, because especially like kinder and 1st. Yeah. They're not self-directed, they need some guidance, they need a little bit more support. So we've learned a lot over the last 2 months with our in-person cohort, and basically it's going to help guide what that 3rd group looks like.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, so if I talk to my parents tonight and they say yay, if they say no, we don't want to do that, then I'll call tomorrow to
call. Yes, if you want to go back to distance learning, just call right away and let the office know. The harder is going from distance to in-person.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you.
Mr. Chavez, there is a question about the COVID testing. It says, is the COVID test rapid? When will you get results, and how will parents be notified about those results?
Results are in 2 days. So what we're going to do is we're going to test on Fridays. And then, so the intent is that we have the results, I believe, by Sunday. From my understanding, and I'm not 100% sure, but the only time the parent would be notified is if they are positive. But I will confirm that, and we'll let you know. I think on the consent form, it will note that. Again, it's really, really new, because our board at the last meeting asked for it, and we just put it in place. And so I'm still learning about the program, but I did ask a few questions. I can assure you it's not the swab, it is definitely the saliva. It will not cost anything. And again, you would need to sign the consent form saying that you agree for your child to take it.
Ok, y una pregunta en español. Dice, no llené la encuesta, pero hablé con alguien de la escuela y les dije que sí va a asistir mi hijo. Nomás quiero asegurarme que sí está en la lista. Está en 6º grado, quiero asegurarme si entra a las 8.
Sexto grado, sí entra a las 8. Si habló con alguien en la escuela, ha de haber sido Leilia o Gabriela, y ellas indicaron las notas allí. Si no está segura, pues mañana puede hablar y les pregunta y ellos pueden verificar la lista. Pero aún vamos, mañana tenemos planeado mandar notificaciones por correo a las casas. Entonces les llegaría como para el viernes.
Hay muchas preguntas en el chat y no estoy segura si alguien nos está respondiendo.
No sé.
Pero, ok, ¿quiere que las lea?
Sure.
O esta dice, will students get schedules before they return to school so students know which teacher they start with?
Yes. Now, I can assure that if they are in-person learning, everyone should remain with their same teacher with the exception of 3rd grade. The only shift was in 3rd grade because, again, I needed to shift some teachers from in-person over to distance. And Miss Ryan in 3rd grade is one of the ones that is going to distance learning. So everyone else is going to remain with their same teachers. As far as the schedules, teachers will be communicating those via Class Dojo.
And just so you know, in 3rd grade, and every grade, the classrooms are now all right next to each other if they're in the same grade. And so we will, 3rd grade parents, we will be giving you a schedule in either tomorrow or Friday so you can see which teacher you go to first.
But it will still be the same 2 teachers. It's just the rotation, on some days might be different. And we're doing our best to have, communicate that. We're still trying to figure out, do we do it like for the younger kids? We might need to do like a color code system or something where kids know like, oh, this is where I go, right? And that our staff knows how to direct kids when they get there in the morning. So again, be patient. I mean, coming back to hybrid learning is new. I think I speak for most when I say that the 4-day model is a good thing. Offering in-person instruction 4 days a week has had its challenges. There's a lot of obstacles that we had to overcome, and with that, there's going to be a learning curve. Meaning, just be patient with us as we figure out a lot of the little logistical things. But again, I think overall we can agree, most can agree, the 4-day model is definitely in the best interest of the kids.
A couple more questions, but I want to mention a comment that a mom put here, which I love. Thank you. And she said, where is it? I'm sorry. She said, thank you. Well, where is it? I'm sorry, I lost it.
I see it. It says, thank you, educators who
yes.
survived this year. I know my kid is over having mom as a co-teacher.
Yes. But the other 2 questions, can you go over a little bit? I think there's a little bit of confusion on the grades that are going to have the week off because there's a kinder mom, I think, asking about week off, but kids are not going to have that. And also the lunch. There's someone asking about lunches, where they're going to be, and if siblings can sit together during lunch.
Sure. Let me go ahead and do both again. So
the siblings one, I think, is twins because it's going to be same grade level.
So if they're twins or if they're in the same grade level, ideally we would want to keep them in the same cohort. So we will work on that. Usually you want to keep siblings or people that have, that are carpooling together, you want to keep in the same cohort. Again, we don't have to deal with an AB model in the elementary, but if we have like twins in the same grade, we will work on making sure that we have them within the same cohort. So this is what the timeline to open. Preschool, kinder, 1st and 2nd grade will return the week of April 12th. Now, during that week of April 12th, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, and 8th grade are still going to come back, but they're going to be distance learning that week. So they don't, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th grade don't actually return to in-person until April 19th. So I'll repeat that again. April 12th is when kinder 1st, 2nd will come to in-person. And during April 12th, these grades will be distance learning. But then the following week, April 19th, then these grades, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 8th, are coming back to in-person. So everybody will be April 19th here. Then the question about lunch was, I think I answered? Was that about the?
I think it was where they're gonna eat, indoor, outdoors, and also if,
okay.
yeah.
So students will eat outdoors and they will remain with their cohort outdoors and they will be spaced out while they eat. And again, we're doing the same spacing at lunchtime. So then we have different areas now that are designated for eating. We have kinder and 1st will have a designated area. And then we have 2nd through 5th, we'll have another area, and then 6th and 8th will have another area. That's so that we can ensure that kids are spaced out. Then we're also cleaning in between rotations. So when one cohort goes, it is sprayed down, and then we give time for the students then to come and sit down. So it's basically sanitized before they come and sit down.
And Mr. Chavez, there's one more question about, can students wear face shields instead of masks?
Face shields, no, it has to be a mask. If the only time, a face shield can be an accommodation, however, it needs to be a medical condition. And again, it needs to be submitted to our nurse, and then we'll have a meeting with myself, the nurse, and we will determine if that's an accommodation that we will provide.
There's a comment. It says, I'm incredibly impressed with the amount of thought and consideration the staff and volunteers have put into this process. I am sure there will be a learning curve as things open up, but feel very reassured about sending my daughter back to school. But feel very reassured, sorry.
Thank you. And just on a side note, like we visited several schools in Cajon Valley. And Cajon Valley is a pretty big district. I think there's about 16,000 kids there in Cajon Valley, and they're following a lot of the same protocols that we're going to implement. And I ask principals, my number one question every time I go in is, have you had any cases where a kid infects another kid? It was always no, no, no. And I asked, well, you guys have been open since August. Like, how many district-wide have you had? Remember, they've been open since August. 16,000 students in Cajon Valley. They've only had one case from student to student transmission. Those are really good numbers because they went through a spike in the COVID. We went through a spike in December and January, and they still remained open, and they still only had one transmitted case out of 16,000 students. I mean, that's a pretty massive district. So I feel confident that having these measures in place, kids will be safe. And I can assure you kids are safer here than they are just about any other environment because we are following these protocols.
Someone has a question about the kids are going to say in the virtual learning. She says, now the kids that will be doing virtual schooling, how will that schedule be different?
The schedule will be very similar. If they're remaining in the virtual academy, with the exception of 6th grade. The 6th grade students, I think there was only 3 6th grade students that opted for virtual academy. They're the only ones that will be in the Monterey Heights Virtual Academy. Everyone else will be housed with teachers here at Mount Vernon. So for example, 8th grade, we'll have Miss Olmos and Miss Johnson, the same 2 teachers. If it is K through 5, they will have either Miss Ryan or Miss Lourdes, or Miss Gonzalez, I'm sorry. And so both are teachers that were here. So they're familiar with the students, and so to make for an easy transition, the start times will be identical to what they're doing right now. It's just their small group times they're gonna be different.
Someone is asking, she says, I missed the 4-day schedule. Can you please summarize? Thanks.
Sure. I'll put it back up here and I'll brag about it again. Let's see.
Mr. Chavez, can we share the link at the end? Because there are quite a few people who missed the beginning that would like to see the link for the recording.
Sure. How about this? I can post it on Dojo. Will probably be the best method for me to post it on Dojo. I think most people are on Dojo. I think, will that work for you if I post it on Dojo? Yeah. Okay. So when we're done here, I'll download the recording and then I'll post it there. But this is the 4-day model. It's the Kinder through 6 dual immersion 4-day model, which it's a full day. So it's 8 to 2:20, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. So 4 days a week, your child will be coming to school all 4 days. Wednesday is a distance learning day. Well, they will have an initial instruction for 30 minutes like they do right now. And then the remainder of the day will be asynchronous. So again, full day, 4 days, 4 days a week. So having said that, every grade level has 3 teachers. You have your Spanish teacher, your English teacher, and then you have a support staff. So 3 different classrooms. So there will be a rotation amongst that. And in some cases, the teacher will rotate. In some cases, the students will rotate. But either way, just knowing that they'll get Spanish, English, and then when they're with the support staff, they're primarily working independently and mainly on asynchronous work that has been assigned from their English or Spanish teacher.
Don't like this one.
Is that it? Let's see.
I just want to clarify, somebody asked if Wednesdays are going to be minimum days like they are now. In fact, it's asynchronous. They are supposed to be working from 8 to 2:20, the same hours that we have in person. But the work will be asynchronous work that we assign.
Whether there'll be fine arts?
Online. I'm sorry?
I'm sorry to interrupt. Will there still be fine arts on that day through distance learning?
So
well, it's different for each grade level, but go ahead, Mr. Chavez.
Oh.
Yes, I will clarify. The students, so we have a rotation of AMP, which is art, music, and PE. This year we had art and PE. And so every quarter it was different. So now when they come back, it's actually going to be PE. So they had Miss N for art in the last quarter, right? And then before that, they had Miss Cottrell for PE. So Miss Cottrell's coming back. And so she'll do PE with them. There was a question regarding mandated use of hand sanitizer. So hand sanitizer is a pretty common universal practice across the board. We have set up a hand washing, an additional hand washing station here on site, but there will be hand sanitizer stations throughout. If there is any medical condition where, for example, your son or daughter cannot use the hand sanitizer, then they can use the hand washing station. But again, we would need to be notified, and then we would have like a 504 meeting to be able to document that, that accommodation.
Sorry, I have one more question. So on Wednesday, my kindergartner normally has the fine arts rotations on Wednesday on her computer. So now that we're going back hybrid, Wednesdays are distance learning. So do I put her on the computer for her fine arts, or is it just asynchronous?
No, so the art, remember the art, they're no longer going to have art here with us. The art
PE.
teacher's rotating to another school, so they'll have PE here with us.
Got it. And then do I put her on the computer to do PE on the computer because it's distance learning?
Oh, on distance learning,
and she would have PE on Wednesdays. So is that going to change, or should I just not put her on?
The schedule? The schedule for AMP will change because since it's in person now, we have to. What we want to do ideally is not have the kids do their AMP when they're with English or Spanish. We'd rather them do AMP when they're with the
Teacher.
support staff, right? Because they're not really, they're doing asynchronous work. So that's the ideal time to do it. So I am working with the PE teacher. She is working with the different teachers to say, okay, when can we pull to do PE when they're in that third group is the
Perfect.
ideal time.
Sorry, I have these weird questions. I'm a teacher at my school, so we're doing things differently. So I have to switch it for my kindergartner.
No, it's fine.
One last question is, so on Wednesdays, completely asynchronous. I don't have to log her in for a SEL activity or anything. It's just asynchronous, right?
No. It is 30 minutes in the morning.
Oh, it is. Okay.
It is.
I'll
You
log
still
her
do
in
the
for
first
30
30 minutes,
Okay.
and then after that, it is asynchronous.
Okay. Thank you so much. I think I'm done.
No problem. ¿Algo más? All right, looks like it's 7 p.m. We got wrapped up in an hour and a half, so we will be sending out report cards this week, and along with the letter just confirming that you are, either in distance learning or hybrid. But again, if you are not sure and you want to confirm, just call the office tomorrow, and then Lelia can definitely check the list, and she can confirm with you what we have for you. Igual vamos a mandar las cartas, también los boletos de las calificaciones esta semana, y junto con eso les vamos a mandar la carta indicándoles cuál opción tenemos para ustedes que escogieron, que es híbrido, en persona o a distancia. Pero si no están seguros, si quieren saber inmediatamente, pueden hablar a la oficina y confirmar con Lelia. Muchísimas gracias, les quiero desear una buena noche y estamos en contacto, y créanme que estoy súper emocionado que vamos a estar con ustedes y sus hijos el 12 de abril o el 19 de abril con algunos casos. Y más emocionado que van a estar aquí 4 días. So again, I'm very excited that the kids are coming back April 12th, and in some cases April 19th. Even more excited that kids will be here fully. So really ask that let's work on this together. Let's make sure that, there's going to be some things with ingress and egress and all that stuff, but honestly, the end in mind is we're here for the kids, and we want to make sure that they're here and with their teachers, and they've been gone for a while, so we're excited to have them back. So thank you so much. I'll be posting this on Class Dojo in about, 30 minutes or so. Okay.
Thank you
Have a
for
good night.
your work.
Thank you, Mr. Chavez.
Thank you, Ms. George. Good night. Thank you, Ms.
Good
Bonasiski, Mr. Wazalewski, Ms. Gama. Thank you all for helping out.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Nada, buenas noches.
Oh, Miss Stanley too. I forgot to mention you, Miss Stanley. Thank you, Miss Stanley.
I'm just here undercover.
Thank you guys. I appreciate it, because it's so hard to be keeping track of that. You see how many messages come in the chat, right? It's just so hard to keep track if you're doing. So thank you guys for helping out with that. And but overall, I thought they were good. I think they were very positive. I think that they loved that it was 4 days. So
Yeah, parents are happy.
yeah.
We were getting messages as you were running the meeting from parents saying, "We're so excited."
Oh, about the 4-day, or just to come back, or just
About both, but mostly about the 4-day.
Good. All right, you guys, get some rest. Okay, thank you so
Mr.
much.
Chavez, can I ask you one question?
Yeah, you know what? Let me
Amy and
stop.
I were-
Let me stop recording here.